Boards. Board games, board games, it's what we're talking about in some manner. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. We are starting off this streaming with a little bit of me singing, and over as I sang is the person known as Kwang. Kwang, can you maybe try and change your mic? See if you can maybe, like, is it actually coming out of your ears or is it coming out of your microphone here?
It's more like getting it's coming from the microphone here. The thing is that I think my laptop's headphone jack is done.
Oh man.
Unfortunately, but let's hope there's not much feedback coming in onto your side.
Well, it seems to be I can't hear it. Oof. I mean, the best that I can suggest is lowering the volume. Because it suggests it got better without the headphones. It is basically whenever. Oh, never mind, says Xate. But it's basically when I think it's when I talk. Sometimes there's a bit of feedback, but the best if the headphone isn't doing, then lower the volume a tiny bit. But I will say I will continue because we will meet each other and we both have two parents, maybe a mother, and we're going to talk about board games in some manner. And you can read on the banner what's going to happen on this. Board games is what we're talking about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. Hey! And good morning, Alan and Xate and Kwang. It is lovely to see you. I will try to talk less, I guess. But this is Busy Bath Time Board Game Blether. We are going to be blethering about board games in some manner. We will also be blethering about all sorts of things, how Kwang's life is, because today in the Busy Bath Time Board Game Blether, we are going to be meeting Kwang. And who is Kwang? Who is this person? That's Kwang. There you go. And so that's the end of the show. Well, bye, bye.
That's it.
Bye, bye.
Come on. I just got here.
Bye. Thank you for. In all seriousness, let's have a very quick introduction. So we were introduced by our mutual friend Jessica Jane Sankey, and yeah, it was when you were at Jess's apartment. And I saw you, and then it was like, oh, was it at that moment that I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe you could come onto my show and we could just chat and get to know each other. And I thought it would be a nice way for me to selfishly get to know someone else who lives in Thailand before I go over there. That was basically the selfish reason. And also I thought it would be interesting to chat about someone and say, hey, how are board games in your life? And is there... But we're going to have a good chat anyway. And so let's start off by talking about recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights. Recent highlights, maybe playing games or other delights. Recent highlights. So what have you been enjoying recently? And what have you felt accomplished in recently? You can feel free to let us know in chat. But Kwang, feel free to go first. What is something that you are happy or proud or want to mention?
Well, first of all, since in my bio I already said that I haven't played board games in over a decade, so my achievements are non-board game related. The thing is, I graduated with with second class honors from Northumbria University's distance learning program for law, and that is like an LLB last year, which was one of my proudest achievements because it was hell considering the fact that I had to work full time and study at the same time. And we're talking about law here, so it was a complete nightmare. I hardly got any sleep. I remember that on one of the tests, I actually slept for only 45 minutes before taking the test.
So you basically pulled an all-nighter.
Pulled an all-nighter and somehow survived and got a second-class degree, which was to me was an achievement considering the obstacles I had to go through. And after that, within 6 months, I was transferred to the legal department in my company, and that was a major achievement because it was almost unheard of. Usually, these transfers can take up to 2 to 5 years to happen, and mine took just 6 years. So technically, I was 6 months, which so that means that I was promoted within 6 months of me graduating.
That's pretty darn awesome. So well done.
Yeah. And
you'll carry on.
Yeah. And my other recent achievement is that I finished an interview with a freelance journalist who also works for the UN. His name is Zach Garrett, and it was in regards to the civil unions bill in Thailand, draft civil unions bill, which was the main gist of the interview was to provide basic information regarding the bill, its benefits and disadvantages it would have for same-sex couples and the LGBTQ community here in Thailand. And I presented it in a more digestible manner. Yeah, for the layperson anyway. So that was another achievement that I think was notable. At least
feels like an achievement. You mentioned that before we started chatting about this bill, about this draft civil partnership bill. It was scrolling over the bottom of the screen for about 1 minute ago. But yeah, for sure, I feel like that's something that we should chat a little bit more about later on, and the ramifications of that. But for myself, what I have done recently is much smaller things. Obviously, I enjoyed streaming yesterday. It was lovely having everyone popping in, and oh, hello, it's Jess.
Of course, Jess is here.
And
feel free to comment, Jess. Feel free to let your freak flag fly.
Yeah, Jess has been commenting all the time, just like popping in every couple of weeks to just give random comments. Secret screening. But yeah, talking about the recent highlights, which is the section that we're on. So everyone in the comments, feel free to share the recent highlights. I enjoyed my Friday forum. Like, people were lovely, and thank you everyone who was part of that, like who was listening to it. So it's almost like therapy. I did have my I played a couple of games. I want to say I played a solo game of Kitty Cataclysm with the solo rules, and I just managed to win. It was very close. It was like 17-18 to the so there's like an AI opponents that you try to fight against. And I also played I'm going to say I pondered and I laid out all the cards for Rocky Roads at a la mode, because this is a game that I played and I was like, hey, wait a minute, how well are the cards actually balanced? And I found that 3 of the cards for some reason take 1 action less, which I'll probably get into tomorrow if Chris is up for talking about it. I'm getting really deep into the maths of that, and it feels like Yeah, that was good fun. But yeah, apparently we saved Jess from sending a text that Jess should not be sending.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
Jessica's dating life is very vibrant and colorful and, well, unique in a way.
And yeah, to which Jess just laughs back. For a week, says Jess, it's wait, okay. Anyone else got any more recent highlights? It's been a busy week, says Jess. So let's move on. My other recent highlights is a brilliant thing. What's a little thing which is brilliant? So my brilliant thing is other people cooking food for me. Not just for me, like it doesn't have to be just for me, but you know, people cooking food and then me getting to eat it. So basically, a home cooked meal. George cooked some amazing mac and cheese with panko breadcrumbs on the top, really good cheese. There was a little bit of there was some dead animals thrown into the mix. We do eat that. I'm not, but little bits of pig and bits of prawns, and it was delicious. And I was like, George was like, okay, I'm going to make this, and I'm going to make a lot. So if you want to bit, help yourself. And I did. It was super lovely. And so there we go. That is our brilliant thing. And so now we're all about home cooked meals and other people cooking. Why do you think this is a brilliant thing, Kwang?
Well, to me, it's very domestic in a sense that it brings back memories of just, you know, chilling with family and being comfortable it's like the part of nostalgia that keeps you going back to it. It's very warm, it's very inviting, and usually when people make food for you, especially when it's your friends and your family and those you're close to, it's the form of love, isn't it? It's a way to express their affection for you, and to me it's something emotional as well. And talking about home cooked meals, I also miss making home cooked meals. I mean, obviously I'm not a chef or anything, but the presentation needs some work. But in the end, I find myself, like enjoying the meals that I cook, or the meals that the people I'm close to are cooking for me, than just going to a restaurant. To be honest with you,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's kind of a bit more intimate because if it's being done for money, it's like, okay, I'm cooking this, it's a takeaway. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can enjoy a takeaway, I would enjoy a restaurant, but it's like a bit more intimate. It's like, hey, this isn't something I would cook for just anyone. But I'm cooking it.
Precisely. It's like, oh, this is a special sauce or special. I mean,
it's like, don't get me wrong. I mean, George is fairly free. It's not like it was just for me. It was like for everyone in the house. But it was like, you can't be on the other side of London and get George's special mac and cheese. You basically, the only way to get George's special mac and cheze is either to live with George or to date George.
And then, like I said, it's made with love. It's made for the love of cooking itself, and also for the love of his friends.
Lots of love for George in the chat. I see people are envious of our George. Just wants to date George. And
restaurant food is more of sustenance. It's just for sustenance. You're hungry, you go, you come out. But the thing is that when it comes to dining with friends, and then you're eating what your friend actually makes, it's like you said, it's a lot more intimate.
Jess says Kwang hasn't cooked for me yet. Has Jess cooked
Clean
for
up
you,
your
Kwang?
kitchen, Jess, for God's sake. I can't even find a frying pan where on the counter. Where is it? It's underneath some kind of debris.
Has Jess cooked for you, Kwang? That's the question that I want to ask.
Not yet. And with that kitchen she has, I prefer that she doesn't cook for me until she cleans it up.
Okay. So the frying pan's in the cupboard apparently, but I noticed that there's no denial that there's a lot of mess. So apparently no one's cooked. Jess and Kwang have not cooked for each other, but yeah, I am not going to get involved in this. But yep.
It sounds like a marital spat, doesn't it? It's clean. Up to Jess's standards, it's clean. But for me, no. It needs to be spotless.
No, I'm not getting involved. Apparently, I'm sorry. This relationship isn't going to work out. It's not working out.
Unfortunately. Too clean. How is that a problem?
Yeah. Okay, back to home cooked meal. I thought, like States, I thought you would have something to say about home cooked meals. I mean, I'm sure that I keep hearing that States makes amazing home cooked meals. Are these divorce grounds? Jess, I'm just going to so yeah, Xates goes to answer the door and Jess comes in and all hell breaks loose. And then that's it. So yeah, trying to get look, what's your favorite thing to cook? If you were cooking for something for someone else.
My favorite thing to cook is fried rice. I mean, you can have so many combinations of stuff in it, and it helps me to cater to my need for experimentation. And plus, very filling meal, especially when you put a lot of meat in it. And well, I have my own way of doing things, and I have my own way of flavoring the fried rice. It's not what you can find on the street, on a street stall or something like that in Thailand. So I have a unique spin to it. Sometimes I would put in some of those weird Thai veggies. Not exactly weird, but the thing is that you don't really find them in other in Western countries.
Okay.
To experiment it a bit and put in like a bit of gourd, some pig's innards, and a lot of stuff. Which you don't really find.
Okay.
Else.
Yeah. And that is the.
And it's very easy to make as well. It's technically fast food, but it's also kind of soul food in a sense.
Well, yeah. I mean, with fried rice, yeah, you can kind of do it. I've never actually done proper fried rice like I would get from takeaway. I just boil rice and then I might do it in a rice cooker. I guess one time when I had leftover rice, I had the leftover boiled rice and then I fried it. But if I'm cooking for someone, I will make a stew. And yeah, Xate's just got some, and that is a brilliant thing. So let's first of all hear it for home cooking. Let's just give a little bit of silent applause for home cooking. And Xate apparently got a couple of games that it sounds like they aren't that interested in, and got them lots later than they were expecting. But I hope he managed to have some joy out of those things. And yeah, but love to everyone. And let's move on to the questionably quick questions. Now, the questions that I always want to ask is, where exactly are you and what time is it right now?
I'm in Samut Prakan, Thailand. It's a province just the east, just on the eastern side of Bangkok. It's even though it's a different province from Bangkok, it's actually just it's technically the Bangkok suburbs. And right now it is 5:21 p.m.
And I believe that Sate would like to know whether he would prefer to be a pigeon or a shark for a day.
Shark.
Okay. And then the next question, do you know what a meeple is? A tiny wooden person about this size. So it's used in some games. So it's a tiny wooden person about this size.
Yes.
And the question is, would you rather have a meeple-sized duck or a duck-sized meeple? So a giant, well, a wooden kind of human about this size, or a duck that's this size?
A duck. D-U-C-K.
Yes, duck.
Duck. I would actually go for the meeple-sized duck. That would be cute.
And I think that makes lots of sense. That's what people tend to go with. And the final question is from Jess. Can we see the certificates in the back?
Yes.
Where was it? Just wanted to see a close-up of the certificates.
Oh, okay. Well, there are many. Which one do you want?
Just said, look at all Kwang's certificates. Let's see them all. I mean, that sounds like a lot.
Yes.
Lower left.
Round 6. Lower left here.
Yep. Let's see that one.
Yeah. Okay.
And I will make you bigger. Honor roll from the academic year 2015 to 2016. Nice. Can you tell us what the other one? To recognize outstanding performance. Oh, let me get rid of this banner because it's. There we go. Nicely done. So you were a great academic student, it looks like. Are most of them who say that you are outstanding? I mean, that's what a certificate is, surely, to say that you are standing out.
Well, quite many, to be honest with you. I'll put it back on. Well, I graduated with my MBA with highest honors and all that. So it's nothing new to me to have these certificates. I've usually done well academically, but at the same time, I do like having creative pursuits despite being academic.
Fine language analysis, says Jess, possibly slightly sarcastically.
Most probably, yes.
Yeah. So this is this is a really amazing photograph. I love this. Was this some Pet Expo 2013?
Yeah.
Is there a lot? Do you go to lots of dog expos?
Yeah, actually, it's mainly a pet expo. In Thailand, they have these expos at least once a year. once or twice a year. But unfortunately, this year, because of COVID, they canceled it. And I love
Mm.
these types of pets, like dogs, cats, birds, especially cockatoos and parrots and macaws and.
Yeah. See, if only Emma was here, then from the Pointless Parrots. And Alan in chat is loving these dogs and parrots. So if you could, do you have any pets, Kwang?
I have fish. Actually, it's more of my father's fish. He likes carp and goldfish, and we have it in a big. We don't actually have a tank per se, but we kind of have a kind of a makeshift ceramic pond, and therein lies the fish. My father, but I've discovered that my carp, or rather my father's carp, has a personality, and that personality happens to be impatient. They when my father's old now. He's around in his mid 60s. He gets slow sometimes, and the fish and when he's feeding the fish are well trained now. They know exactly when my father's going to feed them, and they know when they see my father's face looking down on them, they come and congregate and like beg for food. And when he gets a bit slow feeding them, they kind of spit on him. It was like, wow. It's like when you're having toddlers throwing a tantrum.
Yeah, that does indeed. I agree with Jess. That does sound quite amazing. So, how long have you been in Thailand now?
For 10 years, 10 odd years now.
And where were you before?
I was in Bahrain in the Middle East. It's a small island the size of Singapore, just off the coast of Saudi Arabia. It's technically the place where the Saudis go and have some fun.
And what brought you to Thailand?
My father got a job there as an engineer at the Ministry of Housing, and and he was able to get a visa for me and my mom for us to immigrate there.
So, I mean, the thing that really I want to know is what is the food like in Bahrain?
It's quite varied because it's a very cosmopolitan place. There are a lot of nationalities living in Bahrain, most of them Indian, but there are also Filipinos, Eastern Europeans, Thais, and so you have a lot of international restaurants. One of some of the best food I've ever eaten there happens to be street food, and most of them were shawarmas, or rather kebabs. That's what you call them over there. I think in the UK, yeah, shawarmas and kebabs and all that. I mean, those things are great. And of course, you have a lot of Indian restaurants, Filipino restaurants, Thai restaurants. Even though it's a Muslim country, you can still get some pork, but you would feel like you're buying drugs because you have to go into some back alley and knock on a door and say you got the goods.
I mean, I assume you're exaggerating, but not by much.
Not really exaggerating, actually.
Really?
When I was there, that was how we actually buy pork, and also a bit of alcohol, because even though they have bars and nightclubs there, alcohol can be extremely hard to find and buy for individuals personally, for personal consumption. The supermarkets there don't sell them, and so you have to find dealers, black market dealers. Like maybe
What?
maybe a bottle of or
so
something
it's
like
not
that.
actually illegal, is it?
No, it is not illegal. It is not illegal, but the taxes are going to be extremely high, and so you have some people smuggling in a lot of illegal booze. So just for some cheap buzz, we actually go and get some black market products, black market beverages, and well, enjoy ourselves in the desert.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, since you brought up religion, do you follow any prescribed religion?
I used to say that I was Buddhist, but now I'm technically more. I'm more eclectic and spiritual, um, or shall we say, eclectically spiritual. It's like I prefer learning and reading about various religious philosophies, and try to integrate those teachings, which to me makes a lot more sense into my daily life.
Hmm.
Say I'm right now I'm interested in Hinduism and Buddhism. Just oh dear goodness, oh dear God.
Um,
Uh,
can
uh,
we assume that Jessism is not a thing?
sorry.
Can we assume that Jessism is not a big part of your life?
Well, let's just say Jessica, being the high priestess of Jessism, was very pushy, but she still hasn't broken down my walls just yet.
Hmm. Okay.
How
If
dare you?
you if you had a pet, would it be a dog?
It would be a pig, actually.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, it would be a pig. I
Uh,
mean, I find pigs very intelligent. Sure, dogs are intelligent, cats are very intelligent, but pigs, I mean, unlike dogs they look up to you, cats they look down on you, pigs they look at you. They
hmm.
You're their equal, and well, they have the intelligence of a 5-year-old, which is actually quite which is higher than that of a dog. So a dog would be around like a three-year-old child, but with a pig it would be like a 5 to 6-year-old. It's like you have another human in your house, which is to me is quite fascinating. The only
Yeah.
downside to it is that I may have to give up eating pork at home because I have a pig.
I'll agree with Jess. I love that phrase that dogs look up, cats look down at you, and pigs look at you.
Yeah.
Now, I want this is ostensibly a board game show, so I want to ask, what was the last board game that you played,
Scrabble.
and how long ago was that?
Whew, 10 years ago, really.
And
But I remember it
sorry.
was 10 years ago, yeah. But when I returned to Thailand, I mean, like, there was a lot of things going on. There were a lot of political protests, and I needed to find a job and find a place to live and all that. So it just is, my board gaming days fell by the wayside. And I would love to play a board game again. When I was in school, I used to play Ludo, Snakes,
Hmm.
and chess, checkers. I wasn't good at them, obviously, but it was the part of me in some kind of community and bonding with my friends and all that. That was a more important part. It wasn't about winning or or anything like that. And I used to play Monopoly as well, but I find it a bit very boring because it's just like going around and buying up stuff.
Hmm.
And uh, one of the most fun I had was me and a group of my friends playing Clue
Oh.
or Cluedo. Yeah,
Yeah, like Cluedo, Clue. It's
yeah,
the same game. We know what you mean. Like the American name has propagated here, but appreciates
mm.
you. Um, do you think that what would be your ideal board game? Like, if you could play a board game right now, what would you want to play?
What would I want to play? Something strategic. Perhaps
Something that takes a bit of thinking and a bit of time to ponder, there, that you set up some sort of plans and see how it
yeah.
pans out.
I forgot the name. It's a board game called, I think, Catan or something like that. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, Settlers of Catan.
Yeah, Settlers of Catan, somewhere along those lines. I haven't played it yet, but I would love to play it with someone. And I think in Thailand, they have board game cafes.
Hmm.
I should go to one of those because I think the concept of playing with your friends and being in some kind of a group or community or whatever is at least meeting each other face to face is gaining a lot more traction here in Thailand. I mean, sure, computer games are great. I mean, you can still interact with people, but sometimes we do need human interaction, face to face interaction.
Do you think that's the key parts of it for you, that you miss? I mean, when you think back to your first memories of a board game, what's the board game that you first think of? And were board games a part of your childhood growing up, or was it just, oh, I happened to play Ludo once or twice? Or do you think it was actually part of your childhood?
It was actually part of my childhood. It's I used to have a lot of board games in my house. I played a lot with my family, with my friends, especially when they're sleeping over and all that. And it's I love the interaction, the banter, the I mean it was really fun. I mean, even though I do play multiplayer games online, it's not the same. I guess I'm a bit old
Hmm.
that. I prefer being with people in a room and see how and see how they interact with me and interact with each other. And especially, you can tell a lot of about a person uh, regarding how they play a game. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
something about their character that actually comes out.
Especially in a game like Catan where you're trading, it's like, okay, what kinds of trades do you do? But
Yeah.
to be fair, when you're playing a game, there is an implied, the rules change. It's like, okay, once you're within that magic circle, you are trying to win. So I
Yes.
might be a bit more mean within a game than I would be in real life.
Mm. No, that's true. But with me and my friends, I mean, we were like, it's strange. I'm actually quite an aggressive and competitive person, but once I'm with a group of friends and playing a board game, I go like, yeah, it's just a board game. Don't take it too seriously. Sometimes I play to lose just for the ridiculousness of it. it's it's I guess I like or even though I like the mental stimulation part of it, I also love the interactive part of it more.
I mean, for sure, there's some games that are more about working out exactly how your little system is going to work, how, okay, your plans are going to pan out. And yeah, like afterwards, I mean, I talked about this because I played it with Chris and McCall on Thursday nights, and it was nice fun. And afterwards, we chatted about it, and chatting about the thing that we just had a shared experience of was really good. And Chris and I analyzing, okay, how many moves did you make? And that was a really nice discussion. But the game itself, if we hadn't done it, I feel like there wouldn't have been that much interaction. It would have been, okay, trying to get to key parts on the road first, trying to get to certain things you kind of race, and then yeah, you're basically working out your own puzzle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but yeah, you're right on that one. You're right
But
on that
there's
one.
always the balance. Like if you do start having a lot of player interaction, then it does almost become a political game in that if it's something like Risk, to have a
Risk, yes.
mass market example that a lot of people know, if everyone's beating down on one person, then they're going to have a terrible time. And yeah, it's kind in any trading game, it's kind of more a negotiation of the other people, and maybe some people aren't down for that. So it kind of depends, like how much ownership and how much agency do you want? Because as you allow other people more impact upon your own thing, then you are kind of giving up some control. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, you're right on that one. But I guess for me, it's I tend to take board games a lot less seriously, even when I'm playing it. I mean, it's um, like I said, for me, it's just for human interaction. But of course, I would be engrossed in doing my own thing and see whether a certain strategy is going to pan out. And for me, it's more like a childlike experimentation.
Mm.
Yeah, for me, it's like a childlike experimentation. I get to indulge in it because most of the time, when I was studying and when I was working, I didn't really get that much of a chance because I'm a very serious person professionally. So when I'm playing a board game as well, what if I do this? What if I do that? Because the stakes aren't really that high to me. There's always a part
Yeah,
of me.
sure.
It's just a board game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's
even
play only.
sorry.
It's play only. Like in Malaysia, they
Yeah,
use only as a de-intensive, as a reduction of impact. Oh, it's play only, and
yeah,
that's the name of Calvin Wong Saloon's podcast. I just remembered that because we were chatting a couple of days ago.
mm,
I mean, talking about motivations, like I know that one model that I really like is the Bartle taxonomy. And whilst there's nuances, and that was really meant for multiple user dungeons, like text-based stuff, and so you could argue that it doesn't really apply for us. I think it's a really good starting point. So Bartle's taxonomy, um, let me kind of so you've got um, the fighters, who are people who want to. You've got people who are wanting to beat up on other people, like do the player versus player stuff, right?
yeah,
And they are wanting to exert dominance on other people. You've got
mm,
some people who want to exert dominance on like the game world. Like they want to study the game world and be like, okay, I beat you. Or like maybe they are all about playing cooperative games, or they're all about playing something that's a bit more of a puzzle system, if you know what I mean. Then there's people who want to explore the game world, like be like, okay, if I try this and then I do this, oh, I wonder what happens, and oh, I'll just play randomly and then just do things. Is kind and oh, I want this thing. I don't think it'll win, but like let's try it out. And then there's the socializers who want to explore other people essentially. So you've got the whether it's dominance or exploring, or whether it's other people or whether it's the game system. Like I think for me that's a really interesting starting point to think, where do I fall on that scale? What is my primary motivation? And it can obviously vary on any specific day.
that's very interesting. I guess I fall on socializer, explorer, and
Mm.
the puzzle solver. Yeah, it's just that the joys of puzzle solving. That's just me. And I'm very intellectual, as you can see.
Bragging, bragging,
Yeah.
bragging.
Yeah, and I like exploring this and that. I mean, I don't like
I mean, I
sticking to.
can see it from your photos. Like you've explored a lot of places and taken some beautiful photos.
Yeah, that's how I like it. I mean, like I like to explore all the nooks and crannies, all the different places or sections that you don't usually see as a tourist. Even when I went to
Mm.
in Australia, I didn't really go to those tourist traps, those places which are tourist traps, and I usually walk around and maybe even in the more unpalatable neighborhoods, just to get the feel of it. I would love to. I mean, I like finding little treasures here and there. Maybe a cafe in an alley or something like that. That's how I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you will just, I think we actually had a chat at a while back on the phone where you were saying that you just wandered around and then you found a new alley that's actually had a really nice restaurant in it or cafe.
Yeah.
And in your own city, just all these places that you're still unaware of.
Precisely. I mean, in Thailand, it's everything is so transient. I mean, okay, maybe this week you go into one alley and you find a great cafe place which you've never seen before. You eat there, and maybe 2 months later, another cafe would have taken its place. And you think about and you think, am I in a different dimension? I mean, but once you've lived in Thailand for long enough, maybe around 10 or more years, then you get used to the transience of it all, shall we say? Yeah, because well, I think it's being a Buddhist country, you think of the fact that well, there are two things that are constant in this life, and that's change and death. Technically, that's it.
Yeah, I know that Memento Mori is like a big thing to be aware of. And there was, I don't know if you're aware, there was this thing on YouTube that they had a bunch of people anyway. They had a fairly big YouTube channel, and then these two people, they got together and then they did a new YouTube channel for 1 year. The plan being that they would release a video, one video a day for a year, and then at the end of the last day, they would immediately delete all of it. And it was almost meant to be a statement on the transience of everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch any of it, although I watched, after I heard about it, I watched a couple of people commenting on it. Lots of the videos were completely stupid, and it's just really interesting to hear people, have that kind of thing of, hey, people who've, and it's kind of like embracing the transience, like all these conversations that we have. I mean, I could try to have all the conversations that are happening on Twitch showing, like, as long as I don't get banned by YouTube, which might happen because, you can get random haters banning you. It is just a thing that has happened in the past for other people. It's going to stay up on YouTube, but there's all sorts of comments in the chats that just aren't there. And I made a decision at some point that, hey, I'm not going to put up everything because, yeah, if you watch this after the fact, I'm not going to say, oh, you're missing the best parts, because the most relevant thing, and then the last thing, Jess says, oh, Kwang is modest and love the variety here, adventures constantly. But it's lovely to have this conversation, and every single conversation that we have will never be repeated. Every game that we play will never be repeated. And yes, we might have those moments, and every shops will close, and businesses will fail, and people will die, and we will get to a place where, and yeah, we will have to leave some of our loved ones behind, but we have to remember that I guess even our memories will one day be gone, but yeah, that is what makes it beautiful. And there is halfway expects best to break into, I don't know this one. Are you meaning with or without you? With or without you, I can't live. With or without you. I think that's
Isn't that you
U2.
too?
Yeah, I'm thinking of a completely different song. I've never watched Rent. I've never watched Rent. I'm sorry. Okay. Another comment from Jess. Kwang says he's aggressive. Kwang has never tried to knife me, says Jess. Maybe aggressive or direct for Thailand, but not for the UK, where we all carry machetes.
You know,
And
ruining my street cred right now. Just stop it.
oh,
Well, it's
and
yeah. Go ahead.
no, I was just going. Seats is really shocked that I've never watched Rent, but you know, there's a lot of things that I've never watched that I'm sure are very good.
What's Rent? Okay.
Do you don't know this either?
Actually, I know Rent, but I've never watched it. I only like that one song or something, 300,000 seconds or whatever, 400,000 seconds. That's actually quite a nice song.
Yeah. So 500
$25,600. 525,600 minutes. Okay, yes.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the only song which I know from Rent, and I find it extremely well heartwarming. It's a great Christmas song in my opinion.
Great. What is the kind of theme behind it, if you can? But like, I would actually like to get back to picking a game for Kwang, and I think you should play Carcassonne. I've decided. Do you know this one? Carcassonne.
Carcassonne.
Oh, you don't know Carcassonne?
No.
Okay, so there's a winter edition
or something?
and there's a normal edition. You might not have the winter one over there because, you know, I hear it doesn't really... Sorry, I misspelled. So Carcassonne is a game in which you have little tiles, you put them around, you make a map, and then you are growing cities. And then sometimes you claim your cities with your little meeples, and your meeples are like wooden figurines of people, remember? And so if you claim a city, you want to grow it as big as possible. If you want claim a road, you want to grow it as big as possible. There's also cloisters or monasteries where you want it to be surrounded, and farmland, which some people suggest you don't play on your first time if you're playing with people who don't play lots of games, where the farmland is the one that never scores in the middle of the game. You're scoring for how many cities it connects to at the very end. But it's one where you're building up this communal map, and it's a lovely thing to my mind.
Actually, that is my thing. I prefer, you know, like yes, that's with board games. There's always that competitive edge there. There's competitive atmosphere, but I do prefer, you know, like building something. You know, like for example, even when I'm playing when I'm playing some computer games, I like building. I love those games where you get to build cities and all that. You know, just chill, build and see how much money I can get through taxes, for example, you know. And you're right. This game would be perfect for me.
So, like, there is a bit of competition. I mean, where you are trying to sometimes steal cities from other people, but
oh yes, why not?
I mean, you're not totally against being a little bit mean.
No.
And yeah,
I mean,
even Xates likes Carcassonne, and Xates is a curmudgeon.
Ooh.
Sorry, Xates, that sounds harsh. Yeah, I'm just teasing. Like, see, so this is like what the game looks like when it was finished, and thank you to all these people who who puts up pictures and allowed me to use them. So this is what Carcassonne looks like for those who don't know. I really love it because you've got this immense feeling of growth. It just ties into that primal sense of, oh, we've got this little map and we grew this together. This is what the box looks like. You can see it won the Spiel des Jahres in 2001, which is quite funny because it's been translated. Did it actually win a Spanish prize, Juego del Año, or are they just doing
the year? Yeah.
I think that's direct translation because I think that is the logo for Spiel des Jahres, which is kind of funny because I didn't realize that they were allowed to translate Spiel des Jahres specifically into other languages. I thought it always had to be the original, because in UK, and Alan in chat says they have the Star Wars version of Carcassonne. If you want the Star Wars version, you can get it. There's a Pacific Island version, there's a winter version, and there's so many expansions. And yeah, this is something ridiculous that someone's put together with lots of expansions just to show this is how big you could get the game if you bought everything. But
it has so much potential, in my opinion. I love it.
This is the basic game, so this is normally what it looks like when it's finished. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so we've decided that is the game for Kwang. So Kwang and Jess, you can go off and play Carcassonne.
Yeah, why not? I'm gonna end up. Yes.
Do you think? Yay! We've arranged a date. Xates has the big box plus 2 extra base sets in it. Wow, that's quite a lot. Why do you have 3 base sets? Wait, do you play with all of that in one game? Isn't that too long? And Jess wants to play with you. You could. I mean, you live.
With Jess, when she says, "I want to play with you," you have to ask her to, well, elaborate a bit as to what she means by that. She has a lot of double entendres, so I don't know what she means exactly.
And apparently, yep, if your back hurts, then we've arranged this get together and play a game. Apparently, Xate plays 3 copies of the game plus many expansions, all mixed together. 2 players with Judith to wind down a game night, and it covers an entire kitchen island. I mean, to be fair, Kitchen Island's very lots in size, but it gets pretty big. So, anyway, now that we found a game for you, and, then maybe you can... What do you think that your approach to board games reflects your approach to life? Because you mentioned that you're not someone who wants to exert dominance over other people, but you maybe want to do the puzzle solving, like the dominance over the game, but you're mainly exploring the game and exploring other people. I mean, obviously, you've got high scholastic achievements, so that suggests that you've exerted dominance in some ways, but do you think that stems from a natural intellectual curiosity, or does it stem from a desire to excel?
It's both. It's both. But for me, the desire to excel is not born out of my need for dominance over other people. It's more like a need for dominance over my own environment in a situation. It's more like it's more like me finding a mountain to conquer. And whenever once I have a project, I'm very focused on that particular project. I want to exert my dominance over it and succeed in that project. And once I finish that project successfully, then that's the denouement where I go like, okay, what am I going to do now? It's like I need to find more mountains. Let's put it that way. It's not only about dominance as well, like you said, it's about that intellectual curiosity. I would love to discover new things, even if it's already been discovered by someone else. I mean, I just want to learn new things. It's a mental stimulation that I really need to have on a daily basis.
Yeah, I can understand that, and that desire to prove yourself to yourself in some ways.
Yeah. I compete with myself. I hardly compete with other people.
I mean, I feel like I do both, but I've become better at trying to become a little bit less competitive with other people, because I have seen how unhealthy it is in life. I mean, when I say, okay, that person's done more than me in these ways and are even younger, or oh my god, where am I? But it's competing with other people can turn out so unhealthy, and we have to remember that we are going to be the best in some regards and the worst in some regards. And I have this ego, I talked about it for hours, and I think that State was there and Alex was there, and so I'm not going to go over all that again, but that was a big, it's a continual life lesson for me to try and remember that I have to somehow be able to celebrate other people's successes without giving way to those dark horses of oh, it's you're not as good as this other person, why are you not doing that thing? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can have those kinds of brain weasels.
Yeah, you call them brain weasels. I call them, like hits to your self-esteem. The thing is that, okay, for me, when I compete with myself, I end up doing better than the other people who are meant to be my competitors, which is kind of weird. This is how my life goes and how it went so far, and so it's been a great strategy for me to take, and also, like you said, when you're too competitive, it can get really unhealthy. Competitive with other people, because you somehow lose yourself in that competition, and then you find
Yes.
you're competing over something that you were never really passionate about in the first place.
But if that competition does drive you to do better things, then something good can come out of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it can. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there possibly have been some scientific advances that or things where people have said, okay, I need to be, and maybe that's it. Maybe competition is sometimes not the best way to go about it, but if we can reframe it and say, okay, this is what is humanly possible, can I aspire to this level? But then at the same time, you need to be okay with the flaws that you would bring into something. Like when we talk about artwork, we can have a really polished thing, and then we can get ourselves into mindsets where, oh my god, this thing that I need to do, it needs to be perfect, and then trap ourselves in perfectionism. And potentially competition can be incredibly unhealthy that way, because it can almost paralyze us. And in games, that actually has, it's called analysis paralysis. And I think that stems from a desire to do really well. Maybe a desire to not just be, okay, I'm going to play around and I'm going to have fun and I'm going to see what happens. Because you have to give space to yourself, not just within a board game, to experiment and see what happens, at least the first times that you play, maybe even the 10th time that you play. But also in life, so much. Like to just put some paint on the canvas, just to mix some things together and just to see what happens and be okay with it, even if it's something for someone else that you're making and it's something that someone else has requested. Be like, yeah, you know what, I'm just going to have fun with it, rather than be like, okay, I've got to get it to be a specific way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand. I mean, like, sometimes you need to let go of your competitiveness and your perfectionism, and just have this childlike playfulness approach to whatever it is you're doing. I mean, you don't need to excel at something every time. You just need to learn how to experiment, and like what you said about throwing paint on the canvas. Even if the end product actually sucks, it's at least you know what you're capable of. At least you know what works and what doesn't. It's a kind of serendipity here, and it's something great to engage in.
Yeah. So apparently I need to stop talking so much or mute Kwang when I talk for more than 1 second. Yeah. I wanted to ask you because about this bill about that we were going to talk about.
Yes.
About a civil partnership bill. Can you talk about that for 5 minutes?
Sure. The draft civil partnership bill was approved by the cabinet back in July 8, 2020, and now it's awaiting to be debated on the parliament floor. And it's a watershed moment for the LGBTQ community because it will provide them with a means of registering same-sex partnerships, but it falls short of being granting the LGBTQ community here equal marriage rights because they still can. The bill does not provide the community with access to tax deductions, or even they're still not entitled to the social security benefits of their partners once it is passed. I mean, and once the civil partnership has been registered. And of course, if you get married to, if you're in a civil partnership with a foreigner, your foreign partner will not be able to acquire a marriage visa or even a full Thai citizenship. You don't have that right either. And it's still not clear whether a person can be, whether your partner can act on your behalf in making medical decisions, especially when you're incapacitated or in a coma or whatever. So there are still a few, but significant issues that needs to be ironed out, and we don't know what will happen when it goes for debate in Parliament. And but it still provides the LGBTQ community with at least 80 to 90% of rights that have been granted to married heterosexual couples. Unfortunately, it screws people like us who are trans because, okay, I'm a guy and I can't get married to my girlfriend, for example, even though I identify as a guy. Because there's another issue here, which is that Thailand hasn't passed a sex change law yet. So I can't change my sex on my birth certificate. And on top of that, if I want to go into civil partnership, then I have to admit that I am actually a female for it to happen. Civil partnership is not open to to people of different sexes. So it's technically for cisgender couples. Cisgender same-sex couples.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I know there's a lot of dichotomies in Thailand. I mean, there's a lot of Westerners who have this notion of Bangkok, especially, being almost like a sex capital, and yet it's very much illegal. And then there's this concept of it being actually very progressive in terms of, there's this image of trans women, but at the same time, a lot of those trans women, as far as I can tell, end up working in the sex industry. A lot of people who are it feels. How progressive is it really?
Like I said, Thailand is pretty transient, so and it's really hard to pin it down to a certain spectrum. I would say that Thailand is more progressive than other countries in Southeast Asia when it comes to LGBTQ issues, but it's still a conservative society, especially when it comes to the previous generations. And unfortunately, it is these generations, the previous generations, the conservative generations, that are actually running the country at the moment, and also running much of the economy. Even though what I know now is that even when it comes to employment law or labor laws in Thailand, it's still not that advanced. It's still, sure, firing a person would still be extremely difficult if they haven't done anything wrong, or maybe they didn't go against company policy and also all that stuff. I won't go into that much, but there's still indirect discrimination of LGBTQ people, especially amongst trans people. Because most of these companies, especially the major companies, are being run by conservative, the older generation, who are a lot more conservative. But fortunately, there are a lot of companies and startups being established by people of the newer generation, my generation, the millennials, and those that come after that, and they're a lot more open-minded. So, and there was a poll which was conducted by YouGov.com and also by the UN here in Thailand, and they found out that a lot of people are actually in favor of same-sex partnerships. In certain regions, it was over 90%. But of course, in the South, a lot more people objected to it on religious grounds. So religion came into the picture. So it's like Jess has said, there's a lot of contradictions in Thailand. People still want you to toe the line, but at the same time, they're quite tolerant of you coloring outside the lines. And I think it's something to do. It's partly to do with the concept of losing face in Thailand. Everybody wants to be seen as a decent person, so they don't, even if they're homophobic, they just say, okay, I tolerate your existence. Let's put it that way. They're not going to say that well, you're going to go to hell or something like that. Like in some Western countries, they don't openly attack you, but they kind of do it indirectly. Precisely like what Jess says, tolerance over acceptance.
So there's not actually the love of other people that you might hope for.
Yes and no. I mean, that there's still a significant section of Thai society that are kind of very loving and accepting of LGBTQ people, and then there's the other section which doesn't, but they're gritting their teeth and tolerating us anyway. Yeah, so it's very complex. Like Jess has said, it's very difficult to explain and understand from a Western perspective.
Now I'm going to start wrapping this up in a wee bit, and I apologize because Kwang, you're such a lovely guest, and I would love to have you on for the full 2 hours. I wanted to. Yeah, I am going to have a chat at Dragon Meat at 12 o'clock. So I would like to try and eat a note cake or two beforehand, just to make sure.
Sure, no problem. Can I say something first? Just a little while.
Oh, I wanted to. Yes, we've got bits of time. I was going to actually stay on this topic for a couple of minutes, if that's okay. So,
That's
of
okay.
course, like I said, I mean, parts of the reason that I want to have you on, and I want to have more of Jess's friends on and your friends on if they fancy coming on. Like, yeah, if your friends fancy coming on, I've specifically actually scheduled in my schedule for the 2 weeks around Christmas and New Year. I decided I'm going to take 2 weeks off, by which I mean I'm not going to bother having any high profile guests, if you know what I mean. I'm not going to have like you know, someone like Chev Phillips or Martin Wallace or like Eve. I'm not going to have anyone that
I don't know
that's like big board game designers. I'm not going to have Dave Turksey or anyone that it's like oh, just wants you to just host the show and I just eat.
Yeah, it'll be like hard talk. Not Stuff by Bez now. It's like hard talk.
Hard talk.
Yeah, I remember watching that in on BBC when I was in Bahrain.
Well, I don't know hard talk. What is that? Tell me.
It's just that the BBC reporters will ask really hard hitting questions to controversial figures. Some of them are politicians.
Yeah, but there's no politicians. Kwang is high profile in Bangkok, says Jess.
High profile.
And hot shots lawyer. And it says I should totally get Dave Turksey on at some point, please. Sure, I'll maybe reach out like at the end of New Year just for you, Xate. Or and you can reach out to Dave and say that you would love to have them come on. But yeah, I was actually chatting anyway. Anyway, the point is that around those 2 weeks, I'm just going to it's just going to be, I don't want to be like organizing anything specific. I don't want to be like doing heavy topics. I don't want to be talking about like in the past we have talked about xenophobia or gender issues in board games, or you know, cultural appropriation and things like that, which I think it's important to talk about these topics. I think it's important to talk about the damage that we're doing to the environment by having overly large boxes, like the overconsumption, the fact that, you know, arguably we are overprinting things. It's symptomatic of like a general human nature, which we, and like how I know board games are a tiny thing compared to the wider world, but I think even everything like it matters, like this media, and that's why I want to talk about it. It's why I've talked about for 218 episodes now, and it's because this stuff matters. Like we've established, like the design when you play board games. Sorry, I'm going to mute you just for 1 minute. When we are playing board games for a specific purpose, it does reflect our outlook to life, like we've just established. And the board games that we play, it informs us, it teaches us, and it's a safe environment to learn. And so all these things really matter. But I think for a couple of weeks, I would like to just do, okay, if it ends up being something like the Friendly Friday Forum, where I just blether on for a couple of hours, or if other people want to come on, but I don't want to have to organize anything or set up stuff ahead of time. But yeah, anyway, my point, getting back to the point, was part of the reason I'm having you on is to kind of make friends and know people before I go to Thailand, and also get to know a bit about, and Would you have anything specifically to say to me as a trans woman before I go there? Because I'm aware that I'm not a very feminine looking trans woman, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm not on hormones currently, and I'm, yeah, there's days when I have a bit of stubble, and even now, you can sort of, when I shave, like, it's, yeah, kind of sometimes as a myself, and I know that it can sometimes feel this way for some trans people when you kind of feel pushed into looking a particular way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. Okay, this is my advice to you. Just be your wonderful self, have fun, and don't care what anybody says. And it
Hmm.
can't hurt you anyway because, well, we have laws against assault and battery. And most 99% of the time, Thais don't do that anyway, to be honest with you.
Laws don't stop people. I've still had stuff thrown at me and assaults in over here.
I have not experienced, I mean, even my friends who are trans have not experienced anything like that. Yeah. Sure, there may be violence. I mean, there have been cases of violence against the LGBTQ community, but it's mostly perpetrated by their own families, unfortunately.
Hmm.
And in Thailand, anything that is any violence that is perpetrated by people within their own families are considered a more domestic issue, a more private issue, and so we have also problems with domestic violence here in Thailand, as you can see.
Hmm. Yeah, there are some things that exist
Mm.
everywhere, sadly.
Mm. Anyway, about the draft civil unions bill, like I said before, I did an interview on that. Now with Zach Garrett, he's a freelance journalist and also he also works for the UN. The interview will be posted on YouTube and on other social media platforms on most probably by December 15th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you want to let me know, even like send me a link to it on that day, and I will, mention it on the Friday afterwards,
Mm.
because
Right now, yeah, sure, no problem. I'll send it to you. And right now, they're just doing the subtitles, the Thai subtitles. So if
right.
well, then it will be released on December 15th.
And there was one other thing that you wanted to talk about.
Yes, there's a nature reserve in Kanchanaburi, Thailand, called Our Land, and they're in dire straits right now because this particular nature reserve is leased. It's actually leased from another landowner, and because of COVID, the landowner will have to sell off the land. Now, this what is unique about our land is that it is the only privately owned nature reserve here in Thailand. I think it's the only one, or maybe it's one of the first ones, and it has the only wildlife corridor that allows the elephants and wild Asiatic elephants and also other animals and other wild forms of wildlife to pass through to the river Kwang. So they are doing a lot of nature conservation, and unfortunately, if the landowner actually sells this particular land, then there's a risk that it will be bought by some commercial entity or some private holiday maker, and they'll and most of the time they won't be interested in preserving the forests and the animals in this nature reserve. So that right now they're trying to make the first installment of 24,000 US dollars, and we are encouraging people who care about nature and about animals and about sustaining them and allowing them to thrive in their own natural habitat, to donate to Our Land's GoFundMe page. Even a $5 donation would actually help.
Well, if you are watching and if you are in a position to be able to give financially, it sounds fantastic. And I will share that on the Twitter, which is something that I do incredibly rarely, but sounds, yeah.
The thing is, a lot of nature reserves in Thailand, they, even though they do take care of the elephants, most of these elephants have already been domesticated, and so they cannot be released into the wild, and they give and they still have to work in a sense that these conservation efforts are really not conservation efforts at all, because they tourists go there just to ride on the elephants, and the elephants are not. No, you can't release them in the wild now because, well, like I said, they've been domesticated to that point, but they cannot survive in the wild. And Our Land allows wild elephants to be wild elephants. They have an eco lodge there, and it's very affordable. People can have day trips there to go to Our Land and perhaps meet elephants. But most of the time, these elephants are really wild, and it will be very rare for them to pass by that lodge. But we see traces of them, like big footprints and maybe their dung, and maybe fallen trees and so forth. And to me, that's the best way to know that that the elephants are there, because I don't want them to have too much human interaction. I want them to be wild. Because we are one of the apex predators. We are their biggest threat. So why would we want them to come to us in such a very trusting way? I think Our Land really preserves the wildness of these elephants.
And there's a lot of photos of humans with elephants, though. But you're saying that that's a rarity in reality.
Yeah, it is actually a rarity. It doesn't usually happen. And the thing is that, like Jessa said, Our Land provides the only forested and natural corridor that allows these elephants and other wildlife to actually drink at the river. The problem is that these nature reserves are often flanked by farmland, and the elephants, being what they are, they usually if they don't have that corridor, then they have to go through that farmland, and they will often be chased away by the farmers and sometimes abused because of that.
I mean,
sure, there's still elephants that are working elephants, which are domesticated.
Okay, so the elephants with people on them are special kinds of pet elephants.
They're domesticated. Yeah, they're domesticated.
But then there's other wild elephants that are completely separate.
No, they're completely separate, yes.
Okay. And yes, Jess mentions the snake sanctuary. Leave nothing but footprints, take nothing but pictures, kill nothing but time. I like that.
Yeah. It's excellent, really.
I mean, I've heard the first two before, and the second one should almost go without saying, but yeah. Sadly, it doesn't. Oh my gosh, that's a teeny tiny watermelon. That is amazing. But yeah, this is the Our Land, and yep, if you want to find the Instagram page, go to the GoFundMe, go to the bottom, and yeah, meeple-sized watermelon says out.
Meeple-sized, yeah.
Bringing it full circle back. And so that is a lovely thing. And yeah, again, if you are in a position, it seems like a wonderful thing to let elephants be wild. And I know Shiva Sarah Shaw, I want to say. Yeah, Sarah Shaw who does the 1 minute board games videos, is a big proponent of elephants. If you go to 1 minute board games Twitter page, the top tweets that's pinned to the top of the page is all about elephants and making sure that they don't perform for humans.
Yes, precisely.
Mm.
And I actually went to the Eco Lodge. I actually traveled there, traveled to that place with Jess back in, I think it was in late November or mid-November, yeah. And really, we didn't even see any elephants, like I said, but traces of them. And there were no traces of the fact that the elephants were being made to perform for people. There's no indication of that. And it was really, really, really refreshing to see that. Everything was natural, and the Eco Lodge is definitely ecological. They grow their own vegetables. They raise their own chickens. And the food served there was actually a vegetarian. The only non-vegetarian part of it were eggs. And they had the electricity is being generated by solar panels.
Wow.
Water is actually the water that we use to bathe and use in the toilets are actually rainwater that was actually collected. So even though you can go on a day trip to our land, you will leave the carbon footprint that you leave behind is going to be very minimal.
Mm.
It's
That is
definitely
awesome.
It's definitely ecotourism here.
Do they have Wi-Fi?
Forget it. But you can still charge your phone. Obviously, they use solar panels, so it's not a big deal. But when it comes to, but you still get a signal there. You still get a signal, but when it comes to free Wi-Fi, you can forget it. Sorry, Bez. It's roughing it over there. But you get to make s'mores, which is great.
It
But
looks amazing.
Our land is worth saving. So if you can donate, please do. It's all up to you.
So there you go. And at this point, we floated down the River Kwai in life jackets to get there.
That was fun. That was really fun. And the person who runs our land, his name is Vijo Varghese. He was the one who actually got me over the fear of water. So he's a brilliant guy. Goes above and beyond what he's meant to do.
Oh yeah. Saints reminds me that I need to eat.
Yeah.
But
I need to eat too, really. It's already dinner time here.
But it has been lovely. And yeah, let's let me remove that and talk about what we've been talking about. So yeah, we started off talking about Kwang and we talked about Jess and how we met that time that Kwang was at Jess's place and I was chatting to Jess via some sort of video. I think it was WhatsApp. Then we talked about law and love lives and, you know, home cooking was our brilliant thing of the day. We talked about fried rice and stews. We talked about like Bahrain and how the food is over there and how food kind of changes wherever you are. And we talked about shawarmas and dogs and how dogs look up at you, cats look down at you, but pigs look at you. That was a really nice thing. And I'm actually also going to make a note of Alan's comments here. We just talks about the Bartle taxonomy of players, dominance, or exploring people or the environment, and discovered that Kwang is, and how that translates to life. Like, it's all about dominance or kind of satisfaction in what you've done and trying not to compare yourself to other people too much. We talked about LGBTQ rights and the Civil Partnership Bill, we talked about our land, and then Alan in chat suggests a new term. That's if you've got vegan plus eggs, let's call it vegan.
Wow, that was good. That's a good one. Vegan.
And that is the end of our recap. Is there anything that we talked about that I missed? Wait.
No, I think you covered all of it.
Of course it is. Of course it's a real thing.
You've been doing this longer than I have, so yeah.
Alan says it's a real thing. So basically, someone else had the same idea for a pun, and then if you want to find me, I am stuffbybez.com, twitch.stuffbybez.pickcards.com. You can buy my stuff, buy copies of Dice and Dink, Roll and Write, or Yogi, or my print and play games. I'm on Instagram.com/stuffbez, twitch.tv/stuffbez, where I stream every day at 10 a.m. UK time. Tomorrow I'll be streaming about, I'll be reviewing a bunch of things. Chris might be there, I don't know. I will ask Chris. Then if you want to see the old shows, go to YouTube, and you can also go to stuffbybez.com/Discord, where everyone should go to my Discord, because then you can share pictures of cats, or go into the discussion channel where you just discuss anything, or the BBBB chat where you might want to share pictures of elephants or our land, anything that's related to any of the topics that I've talked about, which is that we've talked about, I should say, on any of these shows, which covers basically everything in life, let's be honest, at this point. But if you want to check out Kwang, then I will repost the links. It is already in the YouTube and the Facebook, and if you're on Twitch, you can. Are you accepting friend requests on Facebook from people if they say, "Hey, I saw you on Bez's show, I'd like to chat"? Is that a thing that you're up for?
Yes, I am. No problem.
Okay. And check out Kwang's Instagrams. They are totally excellent, as we have seen. And now I want to say thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kwang, for joining me. You've been a wonderful guest. Thank you so much. Thank you
so
everyone
much,
in the comments. You have been super lovely. And now to finish up, over to you. What are you up to? You can share anything only if you want to. So is there anything you want to share? Something you're looking forward to? Hopes or ambitions? Share anything, whether it's exciting, trivial, or important, or just a bit of fun. I am going to share that I am going to be talking on Dragon Meets. There's a Zoom link. Alan might be able to post that into the chat. And Alan is apparently also multitasking and listening to Dragon Meets at the same time as me, and wondering who will be next, which will be me and Alan Paul, of course, talking about 6 things. We've written up a big page of notes. Jess is excited about Ko Chang with Kwang.
Oh yes, I'm going on vacation next week.
Okay, and I'm going to mute you, and you can say whatever you want to say. Yes, and wow, that is a big link.
Ooh.
I guess if you're in Twitch, then you'll be able to what's that link? I don't even know. Anyway, so yeah, tell us whatever you want. And here we go. Zoom.us, and it's still a really long link. And there we go. And yeah, Sate really wants to share this, so something went. Michael sings about himself. Okay, Sate wants me to share this. Okay, fine. Oh wait. Why is my computer not? I'm going to need to restart my computer after this. But is there anything that you want to share, Kwang?
Well, I can't wait for my vacation to Gochang. Jess is actually going to teach me how to ride a bicycle and also to swim better. I'm her little project now.
Amazing. So for now, there is only one thing left to do. I will have a quick look. Um, there's no one I know that well online, so I'm just going to say for now, thank you again, everyone, for my next streams. Look at stuffmybeds.com/streams. Please do feel free to share, spread the word. If there's anyone that you think would have enjoyed this show, then give them the YouTube or Twitch link. They can still watch it on Twitch for a couple of weeks or on YouTube for until I get banned. Or feel free to tell a friend about the shows that are forthcoming. And if you would like to suggest a guest or whatever, please do. And for now, bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. And bye, 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 bye. And
See you in Bangkok, Bez.
it's time to
Go. Yep.
Bye-bye, everyone.